What's up, what's up, what's up? Oh yeah, it's been a little while since we did a live stream, y'all. Why don't you not worry about it, silver and gold? Oh yeah, going deep. What's up, Robin? We're talking about the Summer Wells case today, y'all. Uh-huh. It's heating back up again. What's bothering you? What's bothering you all about this Summer Wells case at this point in time? Should be a number of things. And the top one in my mind right now is how we still don't have a clear timeline between the hours of 3:30 and 6:30 p.m. on that June 15th. Some people are here, some people are there, some people are focused on certain people. It's all relevant. It's all worth watching. For the most part. All the BS. What are you saying, Robin? What's BS to you? Oh, yeah, I know what BS could be. I just thought of it. Ziggy! Well, Ziggy's relevant because she married old Fred. I feel sorry for Fred in a way in this circumstance with what I know at this point. I think I know. In fact, Don used Fred Hill right away. In the early on, wasn't it Fred Hill who came down to really tell Don to keep his name out of his fucking mouth? Or he was going to do something about it? After Don was smearing him all over the media when he could. It was Fred Hill and Dudley Ajan were his scapegoats early on, if you remember. Jesus. Oh, Fred was tripping. And of course, Ziggy. I don't know how she fell in love. We'll call it love. Little air quotes. She fell in love with Fred Hill in all of this. How that actually came to be. That would be a great video to watch if it was ever able to be produced. I'm sorry to hear that there, Pam. Well, we haven't missed much because we haven't been live for a couple weeks. We haven't missed anything. Live for a week. We were live last week. Got to take a break every now and then. Take things in. I haven't missed anything when it comes to the Jack and Lily Sullivan situation. Nothing. There's not a real whole lot to talk about other than just how guilty Daniel Martel is. There's no real reason to focus on anything but. I've already got a Jack and Lily live posted up, so I won't talk too much about it. This Summer Wells case, it's interesting to go back to the very first interview that they gave, meaning Don and Candus gave WJHL and Ansley Daniels back then. This was 2 weeks after Summer came up or was reported missing in that sense. It makes a lot more sense to me now about why Don called 911, because he had to establish his whereabouts at the time of the disappearance. In his mind, the best way to do that would be simply calling 911 and being on the phone with them at the same time. I was listening to Nana's Angels interview with Don last night. That's a good one. Justin was focusing on some points of it. I'd forgotten about that. Well, how do you know what's misinformation there, Cursed? The wild curiosity? Like who? Who are you saying? Well, if you don't feel Don is responsible too much, Mom, you haven't watched enough of it. Or you're not informed enough. So either you're full of shit, or you're just trolling me. Good to see you, hey Jude. I'm not even going to entertain that kind of garbage. Don and Candus are engaged in the cover-up of whatever happened to Summer that day. No matter what you think happened to Summer that day, the fact that you think something happened to Summer. Oh yeah, nothing to see here. Oh, Don, you look like such a good dad. Such a fantastic dad. The fuck out of here. No matter what you think happened to Summer, you don't necessarily have to agree on it. But the reasoning still comes back to Don Wells and his proclivity for young children. Look at me for example there, Cursed. Give me a for example. There's certain things that are known BS. Yeah. So you're pointing out the particular false narratives that are just roaming around out there. Yeah, I can agree, but I still like examples. And if I have to be general, we don't need to speak in generalities at this point. All of the information that you've gotten was somehow through Don or Candus. No matter what it is. Oh yeah, Corey Edwards, that's a great statement. You seriously doubt Donnie would actually cover up for anything but himself? Bingo bango. Corey's been paying attention. No doubt. It's rather obvious right now. But again, investigators have to have and be confident on, bringing charges against them. Whatever happened to the grand jury that was supposedly going on. I don't know where Detective Pruitt left off with that statement. It was mentioned a couple years ago, but you don't expect these things to move all that quickly, especially when there's this level of nonsense out there. It's very generous of you, hey Jude. Thank you very much. Hold on. I gotta switch these screens around for crying out loud. Coming in here telling me you don't think Don Wells has anything to do with anything. Fucking rage baiter. There we go. It's going to be interesting someday to take a look at and watch the interviews. The initial police body cam response to the call. That's probably going to be the most interesting. Thus far. The most interesting is the interviews that haven't happened yet. The phase for compiling evidence in that sense has extended when it comes to the Summer Wells case. It's not the most ideal of situations, but you have to think how you're going to, when you're surrounded by people who you are highly suspicious of lying to you as a police officer. You can't rely on them for much information in that way. So how you go about getting factual information to put on your own timeline takes a lot longer. What sucks is the fact that the suspects get to roam around in the free world. Think about all of the torment, for example, that situation like Stacey Wanders in the Monkey Vaughn case. There's a prime example of the individuals that need to be behind bars just roaming free. Even with all of that evidence that we knew was relevant, if you could remember that situation, it's still going and unfolding now, but at least it's in the right direction. Thank God. How about the card team? Oh, the card team from the TBI, you mean? Yeah, I don't know. And especially, you know what? I don't know if we don't have any information of what they've collected at this point. It's an ongoing investigation, cursed with curiosity. But I know what you're saying. Rumors of footprints? I've never heard any rumor of a footprint anywhere. You would think there's footprints all over the place. Oh yeah, Annette, you're watching from a plane on your way to Nunavut? That's really cool. What are you out over Hudson Bay? You were going up there. Are you flying the plane? Don't do anything silly. I go deep on watching those pilot debriefs. That's likely my favorite aviation channel on YouTube. Pilot debrief. The creator is a pilot. He used to be a pilot of an F-15. And he gives you all of these debriefs and tells you what the pilots did wrong and all of these, we'll call them mishaps for the sake of Annette in the air right now. What is his name? I can't remember his name, though. I can't remember who it is. Yeah, you're going up there to work? You're going up into Nunavut to work. They pull oil or suck oil out there or what? What the hell goes on up in Nunavut? Do they need any electricians up in there? Let me know. I'll submit my CVV. Kirst says, the ex-neighbor, Mr. Phillips, stated in Facebook groups in the beginning that law enforcement told him footprints were on his land. You never heard of that? Not at all, Cursed. I don't even know who the fuck Mr. Phillips is. I knew that there's all kinds of, not all kinds, I shouldn't say it like that. I knew there people have been talking, but that's the first I've heard of any footprints. That there's footprints on his land. Well, zippity doo dah day. There's footprints all over the fucking place. You have to be a bit more specific. Yeah, they do need electricians, really? Well, step-by-step exploring videos at gmail.com. Send me an email and let me know the details. I always wanted to go up to Nunavut. So you fly in for a little bit and fly out? Fuck, I'll just move up there. Me and the polar bears. You ever see that? Holy shit. I'll never, ever forget that dude. Was it with BBC? He went out. They're up in Nunavut or somewhere with this plexiglass box on a sled, and he gets in there with his camera and he films this video. It's a famous video. A lot of people have seen it, with this polar bear sniffing him out and just trying to turn him into dinner, more or less. And there's big gaps in the plexiglass, and you see his snout coming through from his GoPro. It was terrifying to watch. Oh my god. Oh my god, I don't want to go by polar bear. But interestingly enough, polar bears are actually aquatic animals, but when they are full, and they can be quite lovable and play with sled dogs. I was watching a bunch of videos of these sled dogs. Hopefully I'm not getting suckered into this AI, but it looked real to me. With this polar bear and these sled dogs kind of chumming around, playing out in the wild. That's pretty nasty. Ellie Jones, just from this interview. Just from this interview, Don's responsible. He's lying, and she's mad as hell at him, especially when he lies about Summer in church. Don't forget, friends, no matter what it is, lying to a group of people in this situation is going to be effective. It's going to work. Because people want to know the truth, and no matter what information comes out of, in this situation, Don or Candus's mouths, you're going to have to go through it in your minds. I can never just get past the fact of how nonchalant in that sense and not panicked in any way. You think that they were just violated in the worst kind of ways and they're going on around their house like it's business as usual. You walk around and take a look. You take a look around the property at the time that this happened, and you knew that the kids were being neglected to a degree. Now, to what degree? And isn't it secondary to where Summer is in the moment? That's the wave that they're riding. No matter how bad things look, just stick out one more hour, because Summer could be found in that sense, rather than look and question as to the surroundings and circumstances leading up to the disappearance. And the fact that they don't want to give you a straight up timeline, when really the point to all of this is to get suspicions off their back, just based off of you having to trust them. That's fucking nonsense. None of what they presented as their timeline of events is true. But no matter what, you still got to take it down. You have to let them lie to you. You don't have to necessarily need to believe them until they can prove otherwise. Corey, cursed is the gentleman with children who said the footprints don't belong to his children. Well, so what are you saying? Are you saying to me that this neighbor came forward with Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're Summers. If somebody's out and sees a bunch of footprints in his yard and he doesn't recognize them to be associated to he made a report, you can't come down on the individual for that, right? Like, if it's legitimate, it doesn't sound like he had any ill intent. I just don't know necessarily what it is that you're talking about to Mr. Phillips or whoever he is or whoever the former neighbor was. I don't remember that Facebook interview, never heard of it. Never even heard him mention it. Allie Jones, you think that Candus is mad at Dawn in this? She's protected. She's protecting Dawn in this circumstance. Dawn's got control. Dawn's 20 years older than her. Imagine the weird shit that goes on around that house. The things that we've heard them talk about. You doubt the immoral acts that are going on in that home? I don't. I don't doubt them at all. What blows my mind is it's difficult because we're getting the information from Allison, Sherry, and Grand Bun to contradict, but really it's not all I'm all in or all out with them. It has nothing to do with believing them. I believe the situations that they're presenting, but I can't believe Allison and Sherry disregarding how wrong it was and to go ahead and make some sort of decision in the moment that has to do with your children. Like, you knew how degenerate they are up there. Why would you continue to allow your kids to go around them? And that was the argument that Sherry Delaney and Allison were having. And I think Sherry got a little bit... She just didn't like to bring it up around Allison, so she avoided bringing it up for whatever reason. That's like giving up to your own child in the argument. So there's a sense of dysfunction going on that, of course, affected the children. Now, what business does Candus have in that sense and wanting to hang around a 15-year-old kid? It's a little bit different if you're picking up another 5 or 6 or 7-year-old for a play date with your children. And I don't quite understand, Candus, why the kids were left home alone, supposedly, according to your story. I don't believe that they were necessarily home alone. Why wouldn't you take them all with you if you're going to have an outing? First it was fishing, never turned into fishing, then it ended up to be swimming for 15 minutes. You never spent all that much time there. But it ended up turning into most of the afternoon. Were you buying time for something, I wonder? I don't know. Broken Goth Doll. Mr. Phillips got a lot of hate online and took down all of his posts, but they have been screenshot many times. Oh, okay. Broken Goth Doll. Mr. Phillips was told by law enforcement that the dog's hit on the footprints Yeah, I don't know that story, Broken Goth Doll, but I'll trust your retelling of it. Send me the screenshots. Do I think there's anything to it? No. Could law enforcement have said something like that? Of course. They would be positive. They would be, I can see law enforcement being positive. Could be. And he could take that could be as being definitely for sure. I just never heard of Mr. Phillips in that sense. I wasn't paying attention to him. the other confirmed footprints. Confirmed footprints. I don't understand what confirmed footprints are. Oh, you got this information from Michelle After Dark? Okay. I'll be careful with it then. You thought Mr. Phillips phoned in the footprints 2 days after? It was also on his neighbor's land, who was Don's stepdad's wife's property next to Mr. Phillips. What? Don's stepfather's wife. Don's stepfather's wife. It doesn't even make sense, Roxy. I'm not saying that you're lying, but think about what that means. You couldn't have explained that to somebody in an easier way. Sounds like a load of shit to me. But I don't know anything about it yet. I'm just being informed now. You're telling me. How old is this information that you're giving me? The footprints were spaced far apart, as though someone was carrying Summer. So I think maybe I heard Ernie talk about that a little bit, as though if Ernie's talking about it, it's bullshit. So there's footprints. I'm gathering the way you're describing it is that there's supposedly footprints and somebody leaving traces of like touch DNA or the scent on the surrounding foliage. Or it could be simply somebody that spent a lot of time around Summer. Could have been Don sneaking around. He's got all kinds of weird little tunnels in and out of the bush there. Remember the peeping Don? That's down to Jody Sue's, though. Yeah, Roxy, if I look, I'm not going to be looking. Mr. Phillips has commented on all the videos on YouTube in the last 4 years, if you look. I don't know what that statement's supposed to be. Oh, hold on. Let me go have a quick look. He didn't phone him in? Law enforcement were on his land and he saw the dogs alert. He asked law enforcement, does that mean that they are Summers? And law enforcement replies, yes, allegedly. As you weren't there, you say. It's an interesting story. Where did it come about? Why is Ernie Shell talking about that? Will be interesting if it is. It will be interesting if it is. How are we supposed to confirm that? So it's being told by Mr. Phillips, is it? Yeah. I mean, if it's his neighbor, and is there some place a person can go listen to these clips, listen to his statements, or no? I've never heard of him before. Law enforcement are said to believe that the footprints were a result of Summer being sat down on a couple of occasions where she was otherwise being carried. Oh, Alli Jones, thank you very much. my Australian friend. It's very generous. I like your brutally honest opinion, AB. Always good to watch. I appreciate that. I appreciate your support, darling. Sandra, are you hearing things? Hold on. Let me scroll back up. I just missed this. Yeah, I don't know about it. When is he telling? When were they searching? When were they searching this Mr. Phillips property? Around the 15th and 16th? Well, I'll pay attention to it, but I'm keeping my mind open because I smell a rat. But I'll keep my mind open. I don't want to really opinionate on something that I'm just getting to learn. Usually I'll just dismiss it. It's usually how I get to know things. By dismissing them first. But now that you've mentioned it, I'll know not to tune it out. I probably just tuned it out. You know how things go with Summer Wells. They're said to believe that the footprints were as a result of Summer being sat down on a couple of occasions where he was otherwise being carried. You know what, Kelly, OG, I'm not even too concerned about the shaved head anymore. I mean, early on it was an indicator just because it contradicted what Don and Candus said, and it was a talking point. But I mean, yeah, they did have a problem with lice. Not that, you know, I guess shaving their heads is an easy solution to it, but, you know, it's not the only solution to it. You can use tea tree oil, isn't it? Or is that's the stuff that you're not supposed to put in your eyes or your kids' eyes, or they go blind? Oh, shit. I mean, it happens. It doesn't necessarily mean you're dirty or anything like that, but there's all kinds of other indicators. I'm not trying to dismiss Don. They've got all kinds of issues up there at the home. And that's just part of the pile. I feel the same way about Summer's shaved head. Lice is understandable, not necessary with lice shampoo, but understandable. Lice like clean hair. If your hair is naturally oily and dirty and greasy from not bathing, the last thing you really worry about is lice, unless they have an infestation in there already. Sandra, in my last video with Don, Chris asked him about vehicles. When he brought up the Subaru, he said panties before he said payments. Well, you know what's on his mind. He's a panty sniffing man. Yeah, you're still on that interview. Use your chapstick. In the Chris interview, Hunter said she owed me another vape. Good observation if he did. That would suggest that, you know, we already know they had an ongoing thing. The kids spend an awful lot of time up there. What I can't understand is, so with this relationship that Allison and Sherry and Hunter and True had with Don and Candus, there's no real, like, it's not a relationship where they all went out and had fun with the kids necessarily. They all go up to 110 Bent Hill Road and get hammered up. It's an excuse for, the adults to get hammered while everybody else just hangs around. And then when the parents leave, the kids are still there, and it's bizarre. All of a sudden, Candus is making TikToks with a 15-year-old. To my knowledge, Mr. Phillips didn't speak on YouTube. You may be wrong, but other creators discussed him and shown the screenshots. Okay. I'll keep an eye open. No, it's okay, Hey Jude. People can go over there and see if they want. Oh, I don't know about that. They're ultras. Or, what is that? Something waitress. Zero waitress. Oh, waitress. It's a lot cheaper. In my mind, it just comes with the territory. Like, they've got a pair of clippers around there for the boys. It's just easier for the parents not to pay $30, $40 when that can go towards booze. You know, you've got clippers, so I'm just going to shave everybody's head. Oh, it's so hot. Let's just shave our heads. It's so much easier. Especially when you don't have to spend, well, $150 between 4, 5, 6 people's haircuts from somebody. That's what's a pain in the ass. Chapstick, does anyone remember the call-in lady who said Don didn't know if he was a Wells or a Lawson? I don't know where you're going with that. No, I'm not sure. Don's heritage, his genealogy is easily searchable. I think it's fairly well established. But I think that there is a connection to Ronnie Lawson, like a relation or something like that, but I don't think it's direct. Yeah, curious with curiosity, you post those screenshots if they're out there. We'll have a look at this. But why would he bring them? Why would he take them down? How do you know that he's reliable in that sense? Yeah, you generally don't shave girls' hair, Corey. I know. I feel the same way. Yeah, that would drive me nuts too. Those people, Corey, you're... Well, boy, real stickler for details. These people didn't even have sheets on their bed. Well, Summer didn't even have a bed. She slept. Could you imagine having a 5-year-old child and it just sleeping wherever? And that's what you tell people? Oh, she doesn't even have a bed. She's happy just to sleep wherever. Holy shit. What do you just keep her in a closet or something? What the fuck? Our 5th kid just sleeps wherever. Wherever she's that small, she can fit wherever. No. Yeah, the lice was least of their problems. People do get stuck on that, though. It's just one of those things in this case. It's just another one I don't really talk about. I don't feel it's just obvious. Like it could be any of one of those things, but how are you going to be able to tell till long after the fact? I don't really spend a whole lot of time on her shaved heads. Not that it's not an example of something else in that sense. Yeah, Roxy, Ronnie Lawson's son. Well, there's so many stories of debauchery around there and scenarios that people want to attribute one thing to the other. You don't have to go farther than Don and Candus's shit alibi, their shit story. Yeah, Cursed. You've always seen it as laziness and shaving your head over treating it. Well, I think that's how they treated it. I mean, it's not illegal to shave their heads. It wasn't assigned direct abuse in this scenario. It's just at that age. It's not that like they were using it as a form of punishment. I'm pretty sure Summer didn't care. Roxy, there's no real reason to suspect Ronnie Lawson's son or any other sex offender in the area, although it's good to know that they're there. But you don't have to look at the sex offender. You need to look at the offender that's on 110 Ben Hill Road as opposed to all of the other ones that live all over the place. And that's Don. They had a manky, shit-stained, and God knows what else mattress. You don't remind me. Yeah, Don and Candus are the offenders, Kelly. Absolutely in all of this. Candus is also a sex offender in your opinion. Yeah, we keep overlooking that broken goth doll. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what we keep tripping over when we talk about the relationship between Hunter and Candus. Curse, that's why, in my opinion, all of this talk of footprints is pure BS. No one publicly came forward and said they seen her trotting along through the woods that day. She wasn't found. So, yeah, you know, I think, Cursed, when it comes to the Summer Wells, well, aren't you generous, Silver Gold Guitars? I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hold on. The IBEW, the Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Keep the light burning bright for the kids. Oh, I'm serious about that Nunavut. If they need electricians up there, email me the information or who I need to forward off my CVV to. I'll go up and give you some content in Canada's Arctic. Fuck, it'll be lonely up there. The cold nights are a lot colder. I think the sun's down for the next 6 months in Nunavut. I don't know, though. Who knows? Hopefully she lands safely. You never know up there. Some weird Bearskin Airlines type of place. Where diesel gen sets magically go missing. That's a story for another time. Hold on. Yeah, Chris, that's why you're saying, in your opinion, all of this talk of footprints is pure BS. Listen, when you got somebody coming forward at this juncture, why didn't we know about this right away? But, I mean, listen. In fact, I knew Ernie Shell brought this up. Fucking guy. So that's why I'm hesitant. It's just a talking point, and people will stretch it into the possibility. I've been around since day one in this. I personally tend to focus on what's readily available. Hey, if it's true, great. It's just interesting that it fits in a certain narrative about a stranger abduction long after the fact. Listen, there's no fucking stranger abduction in this circumstance. So the footprints running through, do they match up to Dawn's? It's just, in my mind, an attempt to look away from Dawn and Candus. Why did this dude, Phillips dude, all of a sudden get worried after all of this bravery and delete his text messages? Who knows? I appreciate that, Silver Gold. It was very generous, my friend. Well, if someone had come forward, she wouldn't be missing. I think the perp is going to come forward. Oh, don't be taking us into any of these weird mind games. You know, this relationship between Hunter and Candus is a thing that you can latch onto and talk in great depths about. I hope Mike Demand gets in contact with Pandaru, because that would be an interesting interview. Not an interview, but he's got all kinds of questions, meaning Mike, that by talking to Andrew, he could either get a little further than other people have gotten and bring Mike up to speed faster. Sherry Alli's mom said Candus was inappropriate with her grandchild, Hunter. Did she? Yeah, did she say that, Sherry? Yeah, she did say that in the JLR interview too. So that's marked down. Hold on, 2:30. One moment, please. One moment. I got to keep an eye for the bus here. Just a second. So to me, if these footprints in this story was remotely close, I'm sure that we would be hearing about it. It would be a lead that would have been shared early on, because it would have been hard to hide. And the fact that Ernie Shell's talking about it. It smells like something Skern Dog cooked up. And listen, it's not been the first time, guys. Like, for those, it's hard to understand when people commit to it in their minds and they haven't been around since day one. That's no shot against you. I say that it's relevant because time and time again, we know these little bullshit games people play and how these rumors sneak in. They're really little brain teasers. Like, Ziggy kind of plays that game over there, but she's not so bad. Except when she starts to try to line things up to these crazy-ass psychic mediums. She's going a little bit farther. She needs to drop that shit. She's leaving herself wide open for criticism. Well, I appreciate that, Annette. Is the federal government putting all kinds of money up there into Nunavut? I think they probably are. I'd be interested what you're doing up there, Annette. It's been said that the three boys stated that... See, it would be so interesting. I'd be so... Listen, I don't believe anytime... Nini. That's not Nene. Hello, Nini. I don't believe any of these little quips that float around talking about supposedly the boys said this or said that. No way do I believe any of that would get leaked out to anybody. Lolo. I don't know where you're getting that, girlfriend. It's been said the three boys stated that they had been essayed by Don and Candus. Come on now. You're on the right track, though. I see what you're saying. I'm not... I hear you. You're not saying that. You believe it, but it doesn't make it true. Of course, there's all kinds of inappropriate things. Think about what the fuck they were doing there with Jose Roman. Like, you're bringing these randos around your family and kids. You're prioritizing your own carnal desires. And opted for a bottle of Jack Daniels. That Jack Daniels, that $30 could have bought you all kinds of fucking groceries. And it's not like they're doing bad. Don is making fairly good money, but the problem is it all gets wasted. And they're caught in that cycle of addiction. Thank God the boys look after themselves. They were raising themselves, poor kids. But it seems like they were just made to be part of the grind in that sense, so that in the end, Don and Candus could benefit off of it. Yeah, it's good for you. Come spend all of your days at the job site. What the fuck are you doing bringing 4 kids and your wife to a job site, bro? First off, that should be your happy place away from everybody and go and make some money. So how is it you figure that bringing the kids and your wife to work every day is beneficial? It's a drain. It's a pain in the ass. Are you trying to, from his perspective, it's probably more hands that can pick up all kinds of weird shit on the ground at the job sites. More hands, more arms to steal. It's just such a bizarre scenario. Dudley was saying how slow Don already was, but he would be even slower with... Oh, hold on.
She didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch. And I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and make
herself.
it, I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad, and but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, out of love, and trying to get information and trying to get her found. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
That means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. But, there's always going to be haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world. And we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts, and that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors, because we just try to be around good people. And we do have good people in this area, we found out since this is all.
So here's my only problem. Here's my only problem with this footprint story. How is the handler or anybody else going to discern the difference in order to articulate what is being spoken about as a possibility in this live chat? How is the dog? Does he give you different signals? Does he raise his left hand when it's Summer's scent and his right hand when it's the perpetrator's scent that he's following? And why would they be following this line if it's just sporadic scents here and there and all over Hell's Half Acre? And how many of them exactly? And how did you go from the dog signaling to being able to express it in such a way that it doesn't make any sense? That's why I don't think that there's anything to this Mr. Phillips and his bullshit story. The more I think about it, the less that I believe it. And again, that would be evidence of a stranger abduction, quite literally. If for some bizarre reason that there was some truth behind it, that would be evidence of a stranger abduction. So anybody trying to say, and I'm not hating on you, Broken Goth doll, that it's plausible, that's because you want to believe it. It's not plausible because, one, you're not going to be able to get the dog to discern for you in order to articulate the fact that it's just this. That's just the trick to get you to believe in this nonsense bullshit lie, probably perpetrated by Ernie Shell himself. So, listen, bullshit. I'm not buying any of it because if any of that were so, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in at this moment in time. It sounds like something that somebody wants to spread out there, have people start to talk about because they're so thirsty for things to talk about in summer wells. All right. And then they can use that because it allows them to get closer to Don and Candus and eventually more clicks and views in that sense, more money, which is a complete Ernie Shaw move. And it wouldn't be the first time in this circumstance. You've got to make up your own bullshit lie. There's no fucking possible way. No possible way that that was even remotely true. Or the TBI, law enforcement, wouldn't be saying that there's no evidence of a stranger abduction. See, that would be evidence. That would be evidence. No hairs to be split there. No. Can't split that hair.
What happened? I got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
the most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as...
Like what? Drunkie? What, like what there, Boozy? Look at how great Donnie is. Look at how great the perpetrator. Look at how great suspect number one is in this circumstance. Fuck you, Candus. Fuck you, Don. Don sounds like the cheerleader from Scary Movie when Ghostface chops off her head and she keeps talking. That's fucking... Walked into that one. Of all the statements to get me to read, Lisa Lee, thank you. We try to be around good people. Oh yeah, he's a Miller Lite commercial. Oh yeah, good times we had and good times to come, boys. Yep. Sounds like a fucking booze hound. Just a sec.
I was around. Ever.
she loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired, you know. I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess, and and all that, like all young girls do. And
she loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa, and
And I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there. And I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church. Or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that.
What? What a fucking weirdo. Typical chomo tactics. Especially with Don using religion as a prop, and he's not even good at it. It'd be one thing if you were really associating Bible verses and things like that to your predicament, but it's just a shot in the dark. It doesn't even have to make sense. He likes to hate on the Catholics a little bit. Quite a bit. Never went without. Nini. Oh, shit. Broken Goth Doll, you want to know what Candus wouldn't allow to happen if Summer was around? Well, wouldn't you like to know? That's a great point. Wouldn't you like to know what it is that they're alluding to? They're talking about... They're talking in the past tense. They're talking as though something's already occurred. Something final in that sense, like death. There's no hope to find her. Oh, we got to say that. We say that because we have to say that. But in reality, they're using, and they're referring in the past tense. A lot of ambiguity. Yeah, it's here and there. See, they focused on this. They focused on this early on, Callie G, because, especially in this, hold on, you want this chair? There you go. Early on, they were responding to things that were coming across in comments that were being left on their Facebook messages. And they were using that as a reason to be fearful of coming out. Don was using Facebook before they came out so openly. This was 2 weeks in, which is a ridiculous amount of time that's passed. The hate towards Candus and the masses were raging against Candus at that point in time, all up until her interview with Chris McDonough in that sense. Then it was okay for a week. It started to cool down because Candus had... Thank you, baby. Candus had, people put and associated her with more of a human than not at that point in time. You think that she would have been thankful for that, but she wasn't. She was quite upset. So was Dawn, because it was after that Chris McDonough, after spending some time around them, came out with the IFV escalation. And yes, that is saying what happened, because the final part in the escalation is death when you talk about that. All of the indicators to Chris McDonough and intrafamilial violence and its cycle and its escalation were there that early. And of course, Don, he hated that. He didn't like that very much. They were using ignorance off and right from the get, especially when it had anything to do with drugs, alcohol. They were just naive country bumpkins that people were picking on because of how they looked and talked, and they're the victims, right? And they're still trying to ride that wave to a degree, but they couldn't get around all of the questionable things that were coming up in their recent history. A lot of distractions in this particular case, but we've never had a reason to have to go past what was happening in that home. There's no need to go and introduce any strangers at this point, or people who aren't already known in that household, to Summer Wells. Good afternoon there, Lean On Me for Love. To question I'm bothered about, Candus is pretending to care about her children, but 100% could have had her boys back within, thank you for bringing this up, within a month or two, but they wouldn't. Exactly. That's right. All they had to do was follow the rules, and get their kids back. Well, they wanted to use that. Think about how much money was raised on their behalf by particular individuals to get their kids back and to buy the kids. People wanted to throw them all kinds of donos and help them choose the paint for the kids' rooms. And they were doing that for 8-10 months, as a distraction for everybody online, when it's absolute bullshit in the first place. And then Don will go back and try to put that blame. See, he knows full well that they don't discuss, meaning the establishment, law enforcement, child protective services, aren't going to publicly engage with Don in a back and forth about the kids in a public manner. All of this is protected, but the only people talking about it seem to have been Don and Candus, especially if it helps make them look like victims in all of this against a faceless, emotionless, reasonless, unjustifiable establishment. Bullshit. There was no reason that they couldn't have reunited their own family. The problem is, with doing that, they would have had to given up a lot more information with regards to what happened that day. And that's just one of the factors. All right, Corey Edwards, sober parents, they did without sober parents. No, Nini, this particular interview was 2 weeks in. Literally the end of June. The kids are just playing around them. The boys are outside, actually engaged in asking a question as part of their cover. They're being used as human shields in all of this for all of the public suspicion, because you're less likely to get upset, especially in this moment when there's a bunch of kids around. They're trying to put on that human face in this sense. Yeah, in this interview, they still had the boys with them, to answer your question in a quicker way. Yeah, Lisa, they didn't complete one assignment for their, well, whether it's one or if it's all 50 of them, that would have had to change. The more that information that became available, the less likely it looked like the kids were going to be reunited with the family, no matter what Don and Candus want to sit there and blow up your ass. See, there's this cycle to keep continuing to go back to these bullshit artists as to answer whatever question may be raised as though it's helping. It's simping, really. It's bullshit. The guilty motherfuckers are on your screen right now. And it's going to be up to them to tell on themselves. And they're doing plenty of talking, plenty of denying. And that's what looks the same every single time in all of these cases. An innocent person doesn't have the need to be out here talking about things in any other way that's unrelated to the topic. And really, Don and Candus are out here saving their own asses, their own reputation, as though that's a thing. People say Candus, what did they, you guys know, did you guys see all what they had to abide by? I'm not sure if we would have been privy to that information, but maybe it was talked about. Or is that some of the normal things that go along with whatever that they're introducing? Parenting classes. Did you see Candus taking any sort of class? She'll be fucking fast asleep like she was in the first pew at church. Kicked back, hung over. Intentionally trying to block out any information. That's not exactly the type of person you want in your classroom. Yeah, silver gold. That's a Three Stooges line, a victim of circumstance. Actually, it used to be a thing in the medical back in those days, like turn of the century. Victim of circumstance. That's why I think it was funny back then. We can not quite be sure, though. It's still funny now. People say Candus went to her parenting classes, but Dawn wouldn't. If it was me, I'd choose my children over Dawn any day. Well, lean on me. You know, we're assuming that Candus has that option. You know, Candus, to a degree, is forced into this, I think. This is not all Candus. This is Dawn and Candus. And they both know what it is that they're trying to keep away. They'll both be going to jail for a long, long time. Not just in how it happened, but how they covered it up. Like, they're into it balls deep. As in, they're responsible. Hey, Carolina. CPS gives each parent their own case action plan. That way, if the other parent doesn't do theirs, it won't affect the other parent. Oh, okay. Oh boy, I can see them getting somewhere. Oh, yeah. I can see Don just saying, agreeing to all of this. Oh, fantastic. I really wanted to take those courses. Fucking hell. Don't throw your child across the room. Is your multiple choice? This is June 28th. Candus, the first time speaking, even though Dawn speaks the majority. Boys got taken mid-July. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were forced. There's a lot of information shared about the allegations and what was happening on 110. The paperwork is out there. Oh, yeah, we're well aware of all of the allegations. They don't ever want to speak to any of the allegations, though. It's just all bunk and all nonsense, which makes the allegations that much more believable, especially when you go and listen to Allison and Sherry and Grandbun, even though you can see that they've got their beef. They've got a beef with them. So how, if you've got beef with this family, how is it you're letting your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, Grandbun, go out there, but they're just at that age where, you know, like Hunter and True are at that age where they want to rebel against the parents. It just might be the middle of a thing that they're in. It's not like was a conscious decision. It's just how things ended up. Like, it's hard. The stuff that Allison and Sherry and Grandbun have alleged is easily believable. And it's believable to me because they're probably holding back. It's believable to me because it makes them look just as bad as it makes Dawn and Candus look in the greater scheme of things. So why would they be lacking that self-awareness in the moment? The answer is they're prioritizing the situation with Summer because it trumps everything in all of this. That's the whole point to why we're here. That's why Allison and Grandbun and Sherry are believable, even though maybe they've exaggerated here and there. But, you know, when it comes to finding out the nature of things up at 110 Ben Hill Road, there's no better people to get your information from, no matter if it's exaggerated or not. But it doesn't matter when you start to cross that threshold. When you cross that threshold, there's a point of no return. It doesn't matter if you're 70% into it or 5% into it. You've already crossed that threshold of being inappropriate and being bad, being illegal. Oh, Nini, you're right. But there's so much more that we need to know about that. You're absolutely right. You believe they either surrendered their parental rights with no fuss so they wouldn't be charged, in my honest opinion. Yeah, it would have been offered up to them. Here's what's going to happen. And instead of fighting, going through the trial in order to, they're avoiding sharing that information with the courts in effort to either get their children back or progress the situation, because one thing does have to do with the other. The reason they don't have the boys has everything to do with why Summer isn't around anymore. And they're not wanting to share any of that information, and you can get a great sense of that in even this interview. Goes without saying. Well, they don't have the boys. The boys are still there in this interview. Sorry to confuse you. That's where you are right now, lean on me. So that's kind of where I like to park myself. However, we're at a point now when it comes to Dawn, and when you become familiar with the cycles and what they lead to in these circumstances, it's very plausible that they did, in fact, do something to Summer. But I see what you're saying. They may not have done anything to Summer. However, she's responsible for not watching her. Well, absolutely. Criminally responsible. And the fact why they want to dispose of the body, which is another crime, all right, and engage in this conspiracy to cover up after the fact. And Dawn's now an accessory after the fact, if not being fully responsible for it. You're already into life in prison territory with this. Now, no matter the reason or how she passed, okay? No matter the reason that she passed, the reason for covering up is probably the same, and has to do with the SA within the household. I can agree to that. But no matter what, the responsible parties are on your screen. There's nobody else involved in all of this, in my mind. I'd be surprised. That there's witting participants. Unwitting, I can believe that there's all kinds. We were all made to be unwitting participants in all of this. It's the whole point in coming out and lying to the world. Yeah, Anna. You're pulling that from an article in the Johnson City Press. We didn't have a choice, Don told the Times News last year. They were going to bury us if we didn't sign them over. Yeah, I like the Times News Online. They've got 3 early interviews with Don Wells over the phone, which happened before this particular interview. And listening to them in succession gives you an early understanding about just how Don lies. He gets an early baseline on his patterns. Holy mackerel, good to see you, Chris. Hello, UK. Yeah, Anna, that's just how Don describes it. There's reasons why they won't let the kids back. Don doesn't want to talk about any of them. He avoids them. Like, look at what he's saying in that statement to the Times News. They were going to bury us. They were going to bury you, meaning that's Don avoiding, or what really, he's acknowledging the fact that if the process, or if it went any further, they would have to go and speak on their own behalf and be asked questions which they didn't want to be asked in a court of law and weren't about to be held responsible for. It would have been one way to get answers through this procedure, right? Because like it or not, it has to do with one another. Some are going missing in the fact that the boys aren't around anymore. And you guys don't want to talk about, not for one moment, about it being a safe environment around there. How the hell could you convince us that there is a stranger that just randomly abducted one of your kids? If that was fucking true, I think you would cease thinking that you were in a safe environment. Bolting down doors, windows, moving. Somebody has it out for me. They're coming to steal my kids. All of this, think about all the crazy shit you would be thinking if you were truly victimized by a stranger in all of this. Not one of those thoughts had ever crossed Don's head or Candus's. It's just business as usual all up in there. Nothing to see here. That's suspicious as fuck. Nothing to see here. Quite the opposite. Isn't your kid missing? It's okay. Cam and Alli are up here helping out. They're searching things out up here. High as fuck. There's a currency, Summer Wells is a currency to some people at this point, sadly. And then there's other people who just look for things to talk about. You don't need to talk about anybody else. It'd be nice. That's kind of a circular statement, Cursed. I wouldn't put the responsibility of kidnapping on a parent. I see what you're saying there. Like as though if it was a predatory act, like a stranger abduction. And if they weren't watching her, and say an accident happened, and they covered it up, that doesn't go. I don't like that whole statement. This whole accident cover up is a blanket fucking term. It's not your fault, Cursed. It's a blanket term, and it's a lazy scapegoat for people's minds. I can buy that, whatever happened. It comes down to the fact, if there was an accident, why wasn't 911 called in right away? If a child fell down and hit their head in the water, secondary drowning, there's no reason to not involve 911. Why did, in this circumstance, Don and Candus decide to dispose of the body and hide it away and go on to proceed to commit multiple other felony crimes after that if it was an accident? Don't buy it. It's just nonsense for your mind. It's we're here to unclutter that. No. If there was a reason that they felt it needed to be covered up, then it wasn't a fucking accident. If there was an accident, it's an accident because the ambulance came and the children at the hospital, did they pass away? I don't run with a theory, Cursed, in that sense. I've been saying the same thing since the get-go in all of this. All of the answers lie with Dawn. Candus is protecting Dawn. There's nobody else involved. It's people want to think that they know. They've got such a gaping hole in their timeline that goes unmentioned. They don't even refer to it. Nobody even wanders on it. This is the major problem. What's gone on between the hours of 3:09 and 6:26? See, I don't get consumed with trying to guess all of the different things that could have possibly happened. Focus on the next step based off of everything that you've come to learn. People love to go with this accident cover-up because for their minds, they figured out enough to recognize that, yes, the suspects are being deceptive, but their minds can't quite go far enough as to scale out a little bit and realize what it is that they're looking at sometimes. Sometimes they need help. But for it's just a path of least resistance type of thing. It shouldn't be included in any theory. It's not a theory, it's just a scapegoat. But we'll move on. There's a reason why they're lying. And that reason has to be associated with why Summer is no longer around anymore. They're not even good liars. We need to stop fooling ourselves into thinking about narrow-mindedly about each and everything that they lie about and what that means directly. No matter what it is, it points to their culpability in this situation. And that's the way the law's going to look at it eventually. Wish they'd hurry the hell up. What's happened between the hours, Don, 3:09 p.m. and 6:30? And I ask that, not that I expect an answer. And I'm not demanding Don answer me. That's what a court of law is for. I'd love to be behind that one-way mirror. I don't even think that Don and Candus have been pressed yet. I don't think TBI, FBI, law enforcement have pressed them yet. This has been such a long process of evidence gathering, in other words. And when they move, they'll move. No different than what they did a few weeks ago at Van Hill Road. And then fucking shit'll be exciting. Woo! I can't wait for that day. It's going to be pumping. When they go in, they'll do it once and be done with it. So with these parents that, or individuals that are out there walking around that are really guilty, and this is a part where none of us like to be in. It's where and what starts this divisive nature of people that want to believe one thing or another. No matter which one it is, it's not going to matter. No matter how Summer came to her fate, does it change the fact about who's responsible in all of this? No matter what. That's what we've learned. Just how guilty Don and Candus are in all of this. The only next step is getting these two cocksuckers into an interview room and catching them up in lies. Being given the green light from that DA to proceed. That day is going to come. That day is going to come. These situations where children go missing and the parents aren't acting right, using a blanket term there, I think it's okay to use one in this circumstance because it covers a lot of different areas, is never ideal. It's never the same, but they're all lying for the same reasons. We recognize it in these patterns all the time. Not just me, I'm not bragging, but you too. All of us. it's crazy to us because we think that we've come to learn if somebody is lying that the cops need to do something in these circumstances, and we misrepresent what law and order and justice in this circumstance really means. It's a hard go. It's a battle, and nobody is a winner. Did I say winner? I meant winner. Winner, whatever. Personally, I hate it when people lie to me in this circumstance, in this sense. And when you come to Don and Candus, you get nothing but lies and deceit. Everything is deception. Layered away and disguised as a joke. Who would be joking in a circumstance like this? But they're very good at trying to create that plausible deniability, which, when it comes to creating content, there's where the line crosses, right? Some people engage in that nonstop, thinking and talking themselves in to misinforming a bunch of people in a certain way just to continue talking about it as doing some sort of good for anybody. All of that time could have been used to learn about the situation, be able to articulate it in a way that's somehow going to dance around the algorithm. That's how bad this circumstance is. In a clinical definition sense, I believe. And you can really, that the loose reference to IFV, or intrafamilial violence, and that cycle and the escalation, and yes, coercion and coercive control fit into that as well. Just with what's out there and known, it indicates eight different steps of that cycle, which there is only 7 or 8. So it's hard to ignore. It's going to be hard to ignore. And time again, we're disappointed with the fact that what's being talked about is really Don's latest stunt, or his lies, or his sexual perversions, and how it applied to the children's home life. Just reference how different Don was when we first got to know him on June 15th, 16th, and how he turned into, how he represented himself of really being not very knowledgeable on the issues of the rug scene in that sense, to being a full-blown addict and sniffing people's panties and doing coke runs, having dealers coming out talking about it. It's now it's just like an open thing, and it's been normalized to a point where people don't even recognize it as his most basic, fundamental, primary, baseline bullshit lie. Why do you got to be lying to the public when your own daughter is missing in this circumstance, Mr. Businessman Don? It doesn't matter who's trustworthy, who's shitting who, and Don's been distracting and deflecting and putting up straw mans all along. He's been in complete control since day one, and he even put off. We've had no choice but to be fooled by it just because of how the case has presented itself. And even the great Peter Hyatt had to dismiss his early statements because he himself bought into what was being pushed through mainstream media as the timeline when it first came out. Don had to establish himself as not being there and being in Jonesboro, and all of these weird things started popping up, as though being on a FaceTime call with Candus during that entire time to establish some sort of alibi for yourself is not as weird as the fact of you guys being on a call with each other nonstop while you're supposed to be searching for your kids. It's bizarre to be attached at that point. Don't you have better things to do, like get home? How much do you need to know? Why did you both call 911? Well, because you both had to gaslight the dispatch. Candus calls in with, and Don's responding far away. Doesn't change anything when it comes to the investigation. But Donnie has been a bit of a wild card since the beginning. But he's relied on people's benefit of the doubt that he wasn't anywhere around and was at work and therefore can't possibly be involved. Can be further from the truth at this point looking back, and that's the biggest thing in the Summer Wells case in my mind. No matter what you believe about that day, there's all kinds of things that you can think of that are contradictory to what should have been going on or what would normally be going on and what was otherwise normal. You shouldn't be believing in anything, especially with the way that they described their last moments with Summer. First off, why does Don, if he's supposedly not supposed to be anywhere around and at work, why would Don have the need, indirectly, to be doing most of the heavy lifting, the talking, the convincing, the lying? One, because he knows how, in his mind, stupid Candus is and how easily that she's going to contradict and fuck up in that sense. And it indicates that Don would have a lot more to do with what happened than he wants to lead on. Don's not known for sharing any sort of evidence. Don doesn't share any evidence or have any rational reason for any of his excuses or an alibi. I don't believe your fucking alibi. I don't believe what you consider to be your rock solid alibi, your 7 alibis, Don. Not one of them. Not one of you tweakers, I believe. Especially when it comes to your whereabouts the afternoon of. Right up, I want to know where you were on that fucking phone call, and I want to see it on the police paperwork. I want to see it on the forensics, the digitals. I want to know where your phone was, where your other phones were. When they started introducing having the need to call 911 on anybody else's phone for whatever particular reason, you knew there's all kinds of tomfoolery going on, and it didn't represent an emergency situation. One, you wouldn't have brought it up if it did. The choice to sit there and focus on such minuscule, stupid fucking things like everywhere from the cactuses and the planting thereof to the candy in Grandma's trailer, and then putting it onto the kids. You had to ask the kids where Summer was. All kinds of distancing and avoiding going on, bro. You measured things up for 2 weeks under the guise of being too traumatized to talk to the world in an emergency situation. Now you've come out and said all of this dumbass shit contradictory to your stories. You know, we're in a situation no different than it is going to be the same with what it is in Monkey Vaughn, what it was with Orrin and Orson Welles. When you're presented with people, suspects, when you're the responding officer, you're the detectives, you're the police, you're the FBI, TBI, law enforcement, and you're on this scene, and you're presented with the 2 primary suspects wanting to feed you full of a bunch of bullshit. You've got to take it no matter what. But what it does, and this is my observation and opinions, is for the criminals that are trying to get away with these things, it buys them time every single time. Well, no, I don't want to say every single time, but the reason for doing it, I'm going to have to, I'd like to ask other detectives, not like I am a detective, but what they would put a percentage on it, because sometimes the evidence is there and sometimes it's not. It depends. I don't think that at any point when a child goes missing anywhere, that cops aren't naturally suspicious of everything in that circumstance. Like a new set of rules apply in a way. Everybody takes it personally. It's a real emergency. We've got a situation no matter what people are saying in the background. The priority to get Summer back is not been a great priority at any point in time for these parents. And it goes far beyond just some of the behavioral cues and linguistic indicators of deception. It all points to the same thing. So where I'm getting at is it takes the investigators a lot longer, not forever, but a lot longer to accumulate all the evidence that they need to actually proceed. And that possibility opens itself up. And cops are never in a god-darn hurry to do anything. You damn well know that. We shouldn't expect it. Roxy Lee, that text, it's done. What did that even mean? Oh, that gets your imagination going, doesn't it? I know. I know. You're referring to the text that Hunter... See, that part of the story to me, of Hunter's story, sold me on Hunter initially because of, one, it showed that his primary concern was whatever happened to Summer, because, of course, he sees things a lot differently after June 15th than he did before. But the fact that he knew something was up and going on and suspicious of it already, and he went and grabbed Candus's phone and even went and looked at the deleted files, the sneaky little 15-year-old SOB, good on him. But it tells me that he isn't exactly, I don't think he's under as much control. He might be under like some false presumptions and assumptions because he's been groomed by Candus and been up there on the hill for so long and interacted. He wouldn't recognize it the same way that we would recognize it. There's a difference there. Like Hunter grew up into a place where he had to be more streetwise in that sense, we'll call it. And that gave him more freedom, and he grew up faster in that sense. Hold on for a moment. Yeah, well, unfortunately, he is. Don't come in here trolling my fucking chat, behones. Don't come in here trolling my chat like you've watched this long enough and your points are better than ours. No, this has to do with a missing child, and you're coming in here telling me that Dawn doesn't have anything to do with this. You're on fucking crack, and clearly. A fucking idiot. Now, that's just some of the raw honesty that a lot of people appreciate. Get the fuck out of here. Passive-aggressive fucking bullshit. Good, go over to Daisy's and fucking hang out with those tools. You're not hanging out in my fucking chat, you goof. Fucking nerd. Yeah, Dawn has everything to do with this. Why? Because all of the evidence that would otherwise be used against a suspect is glaring us right in the face. Fucking idiot. That's like coming in here and saying the parents have nothing to do with it. Oh, yeah, they do. Especially at this point in time. And for you to think otherwise, you're a fucking idiot. Le retard, we'll call it. It don't belong in my fucking chat. Oh, fuck it. Look at how soft this guy is. I'm going to fool him into agreeing with me. Oh, like you had some sort of great fucking point to make in my chat. Yeah, shit. Dawn trolls. They're dawn trolls. They're taking over. Yeah. Well, sadly, you got people who love to disagree, aren't there? They're just contrarians. That's probably Don himself. You're right, Amy. Don is hiding something serious. Oh, absolutely. Holy shit. There's always somebody wanting you to ignore, right? That probably was Don. You're right, Lisa. One of my theories is something happened to Summer in the car. I was there at one point. No, I don't believe any of that bullshit. I'm not going to put myself and commit my mind to that knowing that the information came from the suspects and they're lying. We're going to have to go around them and get some other evidence to hold over their heads, bat them together, and maybe we'll get to the point when they're looking at life in prison from behind the bars. Let's get to that point first, though. You know how police work works. That case is building against them. Look at Stacy Wandra and the situation with Michael Vaughn and the 4 others that are responsible in that situation and the reasons why they're walking around. Not for much longer, mind you, but think about what Stacy did, especially on YouTube. For the time that he came out and he was doing these rounds, these interviews with all the different true crime creators to try to get and suck people out of money and represent them in a way that just wasn't convincing. But yet there's still all kinds of people around who wanted to champion that fucking nonsense, even though it's so blatantly obvious. So it's at a frustrating point. It's at a frustrating point because it's just at a frustrating point because you have to say, you're at that point where you have to say allegedly still, right? These things like this. No, but we're talking about the culpability and all of the indicators of deception put forth by Don Wells. It has everything to do with his own missing daughter. And it should annoy you and shock you just how he talks about his own flesh and blood, the love that he has for his daughter and all of this. He doesn't represent religion, his emotional connection or its meaning. There's no meaning. There's no definition with this guy. It's superficial. It's bullshit. And that's the indicator. That's major, extreme level of avoidance. Every time he curves off to church or Christianity or the holy roller, that's his pivot. His pivot, deflection, avoidance, major douchebag. Now, why would he be deceptive at any point in time when it comes to the topic of his own daughter, Summer Wells, being gone? The only answer is guilt, Roxy. You're right. Absolutely. And it's not up to me to tell you whether or not Don's a good person or not. I could care fucking less. That's not for me to judge. We're here judging his honesty. He's the one who puts himself out here. You had the right to remain silent, baby. BBC Diamond. VB Diamond 145. He talks about Summer as if it was his deceased girlfriend. Well, I'll see you in the resurrection. Don't you have to die before you're resurrected? Like Jesus was on the cross? Then he comes back. That's the resurrection. Don's fucked. Don, you give the Seventh-day Adventists a bad name. What Don says in his religion, his rhetoric, because the Seventh-day Adventists, they're a breakaway, like everybody else is, from Roman Catholicism, which has more in common, by the way, with ancient Rome than it does with Jesus or anything. Okay? That's besides the point. But people take it to such an extreme degree and want to, make it something more than it is. And that's what Don does. Not the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They just want it to go back to being, the Sabbath to be Saturday as opposed to worship on Sunday, which they blame on something that is unholy and is away from Jesus in that sense. Listen, it's a reformation. But Don takes it to another level of fucking weirdness. At any point in time. Not that there's a whole lot of thought put into it, but it's just lip service. It's just where he goes to add all of that extenuating information where he's otherwise avoiding talking directly about the question that was asked. Not that he is actually believing in any of that shit. It's just all, it's like the phase that your public persona. It's a persona that he portrays.
Because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Our best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were...
She come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that...
You should like women that look like women.
...was professional, that...
was pretty,
yeah,
beautiful.
she looked up to those kind of women. She, they were, the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it, but she looked up to them. She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money. And there was times, we'd be, at our boys, like, don't do this and don't do that. And next thing you know, a stick would come up and just whop them, and it'd be like, Summer, don't do that.
Summer was the boss of the family.
Yeah,
she
typical girl.
When they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. She loved to run. She just loved to run, and she could pull herself up.
Can't help but notice all of the past tense that he's using. Person who's innocent and desperately wanting their child to return refers to them in the present as opposed to used to. But for whatever, Don wants to fool and justify it, and he's just acknowledging it by preemptively apologizing for all of the past tense he's about to use when it comes to his daughter. Now, you could look further into that. Is that a bit of an admission on Don's part? He's already apologizing. He's overly apologetic in areas that he really doesn't need to be.
On that swing, her full body weight with her two hands, and she could do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No,
No.
she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year of
She's been,
kindergarten.
we did all the, what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already taken all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
Yeah. I just never expected for anyone to get a hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little.
So, isn't it weird that Dawn intermingles the type of love that you would show your wife as opposed to the type of love that you would show your child? He's intertwining two different aspects of love here, and that's highly suspect. You usually protect your heart. I protect my heart like this is a Clint Black song. Oh, Randy Travis here, protecting my heart with Don Wells. All of this romantic love floating around my house. I protect my heart because I know that it's wrong to let that sort of love in when it comes to my own 5-year-old child. But I made a mistake. See, is this another admission in disguise here, perhaps, to go along in line with it? It's him trying to spin and intermingle and normalize and rationalize and relate to the outside world and communicate a point. Well, what is he communicating to us here? What's going on, Slim? So what was he protecting his heart from? I don't think he even knows. He knows that there's a difference. He shouldn't be talking about it, but he is, type of thing. He doesn't quite know how to express this. You have to express. How many times have you heard any other father anywhere describe how they feel about their 5-year-old child in the same way that Dawn does here? This is a one of a kind. This is unique. This is bizarre, abnormal.
Hands, and I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back.
Your little girl.
If there's any way, if you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow, I don't know how you might do that. I mean, because you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and
so really, why is it that Don can't linguistically commit to what it is that he thought happened at this point in time? He's just alluding to it. Don, you're really insinuating, you're really telling on yourself here. Talking to yourself nicely. I don't know how he's going to be able to admit to this. I don't know how he's going to be able to do it. They're going to have to do it through the accumulation of evidence over a long period of time, a frighteningly painstaking long amount of time to get enough to nail these two cocksuckers' balls to the walls. And that's how they're going to do it, Don. And then we're going to have you guys. It's not even necessary that they admit to any of all of this. They're not going to want to come forward with any or talk directly to any question. When is the last time that they have really spoke directly to any direct question? They've never done that. It's never a direct answer. It's never clear and concise. It's always an attempt to convince you, to sway. And that process, the need to have that, is a sheer indicator in of itself.
find a way of letting her go and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her and, you know, and us and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please, please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. That she's, my biggest fear is, you know.
Anybody else notice how awkward it was for Don to even express something like that? He looked more awkward than he did upset or pissed off. Why was he showing excessive amounts of sympathy for the perpetrator of a person who's done the most violating and evil of things to his very own child? You would think that there would have been time for outrage and anger. He felt awkward, and he was expressing it in a way that he was not committed to because he had to make it up in real time. And it's not that easy, especially when you're put on the spot like that and you've got all kinds of guilty knowledge. But Don, he's an experienced liar. You want me to play it again? Okay.
And where we can get her back and have mercy.
Your little girl.
If there's any way, if you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do that. I mean, because you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her and, you know, and us and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please, please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. That she's, my biggest fear is, you know, her being tormented or.
Do you remember what old Donnie Wells's answer was when people asked him if his, or I'm not sure if somebody asked him or he voluntarily tried to tell the world that the reason why Candus was so emotionless is because she's got Bell's palsy. Because at the time when nobody knew her, people couldn't figure out if she was drunk, high, or suffering with some sort of paralysis on her face. Which, if you're a bad guy, that's good camouflage. Nobody can figure out if you're fucking hammered or if you've got paralysis. Most of that stuff comes from the guys at the behavioral panel, those assholes. They couldn't figure out if Daniel was high, like Daniel Martell was high, or if the guy was on the spectrum somewhere. Which in the moment you can understand it when you're first getting that initial reaction to meeting somebody in a circumstance like this. But when you look back on it, like far after the fact, you've gotten to know somebody, it becomes sometimes comical in that sense. These behavioral analysts couldn't figure out. That's not a knock against their analysis. That could happen to anybody. It just shows you how off the individual was in the moment. Frick, was that funny? They did the same thing with Don. Really, what they're saying is that there's something a little bit off with this dude.
Locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. 'Cause a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? Go get Summer now." And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. And
she loved to be outside.
Yep. And I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything, love nature, and
Old Donnie's worried about her not being able to play with her puppy Yucky anymore. Oh, what about the dog that you like threw over the side of the cliff that you kicked? You guys were shooting with BB guns. What about all of the food that you never fed those packs of dogs that collected around there? Such a bizarre scenario up there. Those stupid dogs. What about a cat that you threw out in the middle of those dogs to rip apart?
That's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the...
I don't want to think she's dead, but... I don't want to think she's dead, but he does.
Positive, because it's so easy to get, lost in that negativity and stuff, and it's just not worth it. So I'm just... I appreciate y'all.
I don't like going for walks because there's too many bears, coyotes.
Awesome.
When my sister went missing, I was in between Arkansas and Tennessee. I don't know all of what happened or what did happen, but I hope that they find her too and bring her home safely too.
You mean after all of these damn years, that's all you got to say about it there, kooky-eyed nutter? I don't know what happened. I don't know what did happen. But I hope she does come home too. So you can see the pattern developing here. It sounds like you really didn't care about anything. You just want to acknowledge it. Just another indicator of this intergenerational ABUSE and the cycle.
Yeah, there's nothing. She disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything, haven't found a body, nothing. And when you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. I want to keep hope, but sometimes I lose hope.
Lose it.
And I think, well, maybe we won't never see her again, so I start thinking in past tense. Sorry, but I'm...
It's such a crazy, degenerate family in the first place. It's amazing to me when you start to talk about theory, or more philosophically, what does going missing from this family actually mean? Like, you would think of all the families you would want to disappear from, this would be one of them. I'm just going to dip out and change my name, never to be seen from again, no more contact. But it's different. They're referring to something else that they're not directly stating. They're alluding to something. Oh, don't know, all this distancing language. But yet, the key points that you can think of and relate to your current situation is the fact that they've never ever found a body. All of these things that really are leaking. You could interpret it as leakage, because you're relating it in the background in your fantastic mind to your own scenario and own situation. That's why Don's relating to it. That's the only thing that keeps him going. Knowing what the cops can't figure out. How does he know? How the fuck would he be, and why would he be placing himself in that mental state in this situation? Why? Because he's too cocky. He thinks he's a great liar. He thinks he's got it thought through. Not caring. Hiding behind the fact that any sort of allegation that you need to prove it. You need to prove this in order to allege all of this against me. That's his mentality in all of this. Or his what was his way of intimidating people? You're no good. You know, he has to lower everybody else around him down to his level. Don't tell me that you're perfect. You do it too. God says nobody's perfect. You know, it's his way of dodging out of that awkward moment. That's not proving Don's point. These issues are never really proving a point. It's just a pattern Don has developed when he gets backed into a corner. Chris has done it to him a couple times. So has Josh. Most people have. He wants to refer back to the Bible, and he wants to misinterpret it and apply it to his own scenario just to fool all the stupid people. That's a pattern on Don. You're not fooling anybody. It's just you avoiding answering the fucking question again. Which has been every time. He's been consistent in avoiding direct answers in a scenario like this. What does that tell you? Yeah, people talk about it, Angel Wings. That's another pattern in Candus's life. Because he was quite a bit older. How old was he? His name was Andrew, wasn't it? What was his name? Candus's first dude he was with. Remember the story about Candus and this Andrew and them having to take the kids from them then? And the baseball bat? The abuse? Yeah, his name was Andrew. We just talked about it, Angel. What are you saying? Nobody talks about the man Candus lived with before Dawn. And a few days after he kicked her out, he also was found dead with over 12 to 15 nicotine patches. Well, that'll do it. Stuck all over his back. So you're alluding to somebody having murdered him or done that to him when he was sleeping? And you're saying that potentially could have been Candus? Now, is that in the coroner's report somewhere, Angel Wing? That's a hell of an accusation. But I see where you're going with it. Very clever. That's a new one. I never heard of the 12 to 15 nicotine patches. Is that what Grok says it will take to kill a normal person? You can die of nicotine overdose. Fuck. I put one of those pouches in my gums the other day. I thought I was going to die. I was going to puke. So much of that synthetic nicotine coming in my system. I don't think I'll try those anymore. I don't like them. They're not for me. I thought I would like it. But I didn't. Maybe too soft. I'm soft like that.
Trying to keep hope up. I'm trying to keep my prayers up and all that.
He's pulling the Hulk Hogan on you, telling you to eat your vitamins and say your prayers, and you're going to grow muscles just like he is. That's what Don resorts to. I'm just saying my prayers. Well, for whatever that's worth. What he's really saying is I'm just sitting here avoiding answering all questions at all costs. At all costs, Ernie. He's just sitting around avoiding answering questions for as long as possible. That's what he's really saying when he says that. Oh, he said prayers, so he must be true. Yeah, I'm sure that you're wheeled up on your knees praying to the Lord. You might be secretly praying out of desperation that the cops don't fucking come tonight. Allow you to sleep through the night. Is that where they put them, Callie? They put them all on your back? So maybe Candus was just trying to help her husband out. Here, have 15 nicotine patches. Oh, dear. She probably kept the fentanyl patches for herself. She was trying to get high alone. More fentanyl patches for her. Here, these are for you. Do them all at once. hell of a drug. Yeah, Candus, Anna, she's one of Dawn's props in all of this. I used to be upset at her just because I thought that I bought too much into the story that was sold early because of the overemphasis on all of the useless information that they added, like the stop, when the focus really early on always should have been how inappropriate the relationship was between Hunter and Candus, and how that translated into life on 110 Ben Hill Road. We heard a lot more about that through the lens of Jose Roman. I wonder how Andrew had to move in with Munch, Pandrew, Hunter's father. Him and the family, he's got him and his family over at Munch's house, which is a small apartment he shares with this Tammy that people probably see from time to time in chat. I wonder how that's going. They should do a live stream live from Munch's house. I wonder how long something's going to go on there. Something's going to blow. People are in the background trying to fuck with them. It seemed like everything went up there, Broken Goth Doll. They live some sort of like free, weird life. And when I say free life, that means something weird sexually. No, I didn't want to believe it early on, but it's hard to ignore at this point in time. It'd be interesting to learn more about it. But through the language that you get by Dawn, not just once, it's not just a one-off, it's been consistent in how really off-putting but inappropriate he expresses his emotional bond with his daughter. That's never been appropriate. And there's something off about it. When there's something off about it, there's something more. You wouldn't think it would be very difficult to express the love that you had for any one of your children. But Dawn, that's Dawn's kryptonite. Dawn can't express that because of the level of sociopathy we have and we're dealing with here. He's legitimately emotionally disconnected from his kids in that role. He's not a good dad. He's more of an authoritarian dictator than anything else. Trying to impress upon a bunch of kids something that's not going to benefit them in the long run. That's going to create more antisocial issues for society. Dance. Dons and Nons. He's now called Dance. Well, that's a great... I like that, Broken Goth Doll. Let's see what you've done there. We heard it here first. Well, you can take credit for that. You can take credit for that. Dance. Yeah, Dan, or Don. Anyway, guys, it's 4 o'clock. I'm going to shut this live stream down. We'll be back doing a live on Jack and Lily and Summer again, either tonight or tomorrow. I've got another one lined up, ready to go. Thank you for joining me here today, of course. Putting it through, trying to make this what would otherwise be rhetorical live stream, because when we talk about Summer Wells, we seem to be talking about the same thing each and every time we do go live, and it's just how guilty the suspects look in this circumstance. We did get somewhere. We did decide that we probably don't believe the nonsense with this latest brouhaha with this Ernie Shell story. Now that I knew that he picked it up, now I understand it weeks after I heard it. It sounds like an Ernie Shell story, but I don't put that back on you for wanting to talk about it or believe it. It's just doesn't make any sense. If there's anything to that story, they wouldn't be representing this as a situation with no evidence of a stranger abduction. And the canine is not going to be able to discern the difference between just a random stranger's boot prints as opposed to what it is that he's searching for, what scent that hound has or the dog has. And over here, by the way, is a scent up in the bushes of somebody completely different. Like it's a catcher in a Major League Baseball game and it's going through the lineup card on its wrist. Oh, you see here? No. It's not like that. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. He is such a loser, Peggy. But the fact that he's talking about it, it's okay. I don't even hold it against him. But I know that it's probably bullshit. It's a lot easier to make up bullshit than to focus on the facts. Especially in the circumstance, because Ernie sees the money with his usefulness towards people that he can just call up and interact with and translate that into a bunch of random people believing in anything that he says when he gets behind a microphone. Well, you would donate to his latest grift in that sense. So you can continue to do things like that and make it worth going live and be able to attract how many hundreds or thousands of people to your live chat. And it's more fun, entertaining, but you've got to be a certain kind of douchebag to do that. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys back in a little bit. Thanks for joining. Thank you for all the supers today, by the way, guys. It's very generous of you. It's much appreciated. We'll close out with a little bit of G-Funk. Thank you, Lean On Me. That's very generous, darling.
Da 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 da